call the meeting back to order. Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first item, order of business, is to recognize Andrew Tenney in his recent receipt of his Eagle badge. Mr. Yule.
Yes. Andrew, if you don't mind. You want to stay right? No, you have to come all the way up. Okay. Well, thank you. Welcome. Welcome to the board. I just want to read to you the certificate of recognition, of which you received many not too long ago, and for good reason. This is a certificate of recognition from the town of North Reading is honored to present this certificate as an expression of its high regard to Andrew Tenney upon his attaining the rank of Eagle Scout as member of the Boy Scouts of America, and to extend a personal thank you for the community service performed in achieving this honor. Signed by the Chairman, Robert Messeri, Selectman Stephen O'Leary, Selectman Vice Chairman Michael Prisco, Selectman Joe Fode, and myself. Now, I had the opportunity to go to his award ceremony and his pinning. Is that the correct term? Am I using the correct term, pinning?
Yeah, reflection of the Eagle Award.
Great. And his grandfather is an Eagle Scout and put the pin on him. And it was pretty well packed. And he obviously touches a lot of people when he works. And he really earned this. And everybody spoke eloquently about his rise to Eagle Scout and the quality and how he impacted everyone that touched him. So, you deserve this, and congratulations. Again. Okay, thank you. See, we're going to take a picture. Why don't you come around here?
How do you want to do it, Bob?
Keep behind.
Okay,
Yeah.
come on.
You want us sitting?
You can sit, come in the middle. You come in the middle.
Go on.
Andrew.
No, we don't want to do it. Do you mind moving the chairs over?
Nope.
No, I don't mind. You think the TA should be included in this too as well? I think so.
We can hold it. Why don't you have them lay across the arms?
I already have a photo of that.
Little tiny.
All right.
Lens?
That's helpful.
I would figure that. And for the parents. Got it? Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
No, they didn't get me my foot. Thank you, Andrew.
I recall, I
Thank you,
think
Jeff.
town administrators achieved the same rank at some point.
That's correct,
That's
yes.
correct.
Oh, I wish I had known.
I recall that from his resume.
Anyone here for public comment?
Yeah? Which is a rarity.
Nobody? We have the minutes of December 8th, regular session. Mr. O'Leary.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the December 8, 2014 regular session minutes as written.
Second.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, seconded by Mr. Yule. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I will be abstaining since I was not present at the meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining?
Aye.
We also have an executive session for December 8th.
And Mr. Fode, you're going to have to sign these.
Yes, sir.
As the acting clerk, there's one right there. Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the December 8th, 2014 executive session minutes as written.
Second.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, seconded by Mr. Yule.
Same conditions, Mr. Chairman. I will be abstaining.
Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining?
Aye.
Okay.
Mr. Fode, if you would.
Thank you. Leave it right here for now.
Mr. Gilberto has asked that we review our upcoming meeting schedule due to some conflicts. Mr. Gilberto.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just suggested that we put this item on the agenda because the way the board's normal schedule would work out, the first meeting, January 5th, will come very quickly after the holidays, and I'm not sure that there will be a whole lot on that agenda between now and then. The next meeting then wouldn't be until at least Tuesday, January 20th, because of a holiday that falls on Monday, January 19th, Martin Luther King Day. We'd have a similar situation in the month of February, where the third Monday is the President's Day holiday as well. So the suggestion I would offer for the board's consideration is to go to meet on the second and fourth Mondays of both months. That would be the 12th and the 26th of January, and the 9th and the 23rd of February. And then by doing so, we would actually be able to get back into more of a routine, at least because there are 5 Mondays in the month of March, and we can figure out the schedule for that month later on. So it was more for discussion purposes.
Yeah.
Mr. Yule.
Yeah, I don't see a problem on my end, but do we have this problem every January and February? Because of the President's holiday, and we have Martin Luther King Day, and I'm just trying to think
I would
back.
suspect that the timing of the
Yeah.
holidays is not changing, but what may be affecting it is the timing of the New Year's Day,
Right.
and the way the holiday rolls out, and how it affects our posting for the open meeting law, et cetera.
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion that the TA is making.
Everyone okay with the proposed changes?
12th and 26th of January, and
Well,
the
it's-
9th and 23rd of February?
And that's my
Yeah.
birthday,
Which was your birthday?
the 26th.
Well, that should be a holiday. Maybe we should declare
Right,
this.
that's right.
Is this
And then it'll be the second, then it will be the second and fourth Mondays in March, but there's a fifth,
No, it'd be the first and third, you mean?
no.
If we were to
If you're going to do the 20,
In March, we'd be doing the 9th and the 23rd, and then
we would get
in
back on
April, we'd
schedule
be
in
on the
April.
6th.
So, make sure, so it'd be we're doing February
That keeps us in every other week.
9th and 23rd
Right.
of February. Now, when's school break?
It's the week of the
23rd?
16th.
16th.
All right, good. And then March, Bob, you said we're going to do the 9th and the 23rd.
Right.
On March again?
March.
Okay.
And then get back on the 6th.
And then
20th.
April, we'll get back first and third. Okay. I can handle that.
Okay.
Well, no, I think we have April break is that 20th, but
There-
I'm okay with, skip it. No, we're having the meeting on the 20th, but I don't know if anyone else
Yeah.
has a conflict.
When we get close to that date, if there is a conflict,
Sounds good.
We'll deal with it.
adjust.
Done. January,
Okay.
February, March are done.
So we got.
All right, so I think everyone can make those dates.
Negative.
We have legal bills
These two
for,
match.
This is,
November.
That's the end of it.
23rd.
we may want to hold off on this one, Mr. Chairman. The legal bills are not the culpable page at this particular point in time.
That's it.
I'm sorry?
The legal bills that are being proposed, this is for the special counsel. Thought we were going to have a discussion about that at first, beforehand,
Oh, I'm sorry.
so
Let's,
I don't know if you want to come back out of executive session at the end.
Yeah.
That'd be
And
my
vote it?
recommendation.
yeah, we'll do that.
So we'll be going back into,
We're going back
Executive
into
session, then we're gonna
executive
come back
session
out
because
and
we
vote.
ran out of time.
right,
And it was related to a discussion,
Right.
and those are the legal bills that we're talking about.
right, no, that I understand, but
Okay.
we're going to come back out and then have, back into regular session again? and then vote?
Yeah.
Just for the
Just
sole
for the purpose
purpose
of
of
voting.
Voting
approving
on-
legal bills, should we decide to do so. Correct?
Right.
Mhm.
Okay, the next
So
item
you
on
can hang
our,
around, Bob, if you want, but you'll pass. Okay. All right, so we'll put this at the end of the pile here.
next item is an update on JT Berry. Mr. Prisco.
Yes, so over the last few months, we've been doing our Phase 1 and Phase 2 environmental. We have until the 31st of December to complete our environmental analysis on the property before we start and submit our paperwork to the state to get into the legislation process to officially acquire the property. Weston and Sampson has completed that analysis. All the lab results came back from the Phase 2 analysis, and, there is some signs of some areas that may need some cleaning, some signs of asbestos, but overall, the property is what at least I felt from my discussions and what you've heard from Weston and Sampson, is the property is pretty clean. It's not 100% clean, but it's I think, in great shape. Enough, at least for myself, only speaking for myself, that I would be very comfortable to making a motion this evening to accept the report from Weston and Sampson and to authorize the town administrator to go forward with the legislation paperwork to file so we could start the legislation process to acquire the property. That's the update on the JT Berry.
Do we need a motion to close out the environmental? Or is there no action required at this point?
My recommendation for the board would be a motion to continue with the acquisition of the JT Berry property and to authorize the town administrator to submit special legislation to the legislative delegation.
Okay. We don't have a written motion for that, Mr. O'Leary?
We do not, sir.
So moved.
I was gonna say, second?
So
Do
we
we,
have a motion by Mr. Prisco, a second by Mr. Fode.
do we have the exact, do you have the wording down?
For the
No.
motion,
Well, we have it on tape, so.
the motion would be to continue with the acquisition of the JT Berry property and to authorize the town administrator to submit special legislation to the legislative delegation for the acquisition.
It's already been seconded and,
I'm just waiting for,
right.
You can bring it in.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Great.
Good job, man.
Thank you, Michael.
And Danielle McKnight
Yep.
did a lot of work.
And Danielle,
And
CPC, and
Weston
Weston
Sampson
and
for getting
Sampson
right on
for
it, getting it done such a
getting
short
it done in
time.
the time frame that we had to meet our deadline.
Yep.
Next item, we've got a whole slew of license renewals.
Mr. Chairman,
AJ Motors, let's do that amended Class 2 license first. It's not a renewal, Mr.
Oh, yeah, I
O'Leary.
believe this.
Mr. Chairman, I move to amend the Class 2 license for A&J Motors, 161 Main Street as follows. Reduce number of cars from 50 to 4. Cars to be parked in back of building per handwritten plan entitled 4-Car A&J Motors, Inc., and to include the following conditions as listed on previous license. All parking spaces to be visibly lined, no junk cars allowed on premises, no disassembly of cars on premises, and further to renew the license through January 1st, 2016.
Do we hear a second?
Second, for the sake of discussion.
Yes, I believe,
Second by Mr. Prisco.
excuse me. Sorry.
Discussion.
Mr. Chairman, just point of disclosure, it's Class 2 license. I have a family member that holds a Class 2 license, so I will not be deliberating with the board, and I will be abstaining on the vote.
Ms. Steele,
Yes, I will, as I did last time, I will recuse myself of having done business with this establishment.
Mr.
Prisco.
Prisco.
It says here that the owner is, I believe the owners are here? And I wasn't sure
Okay.
if they wanted to make any kind of a statement.
I
or-
guess my question
curious
would be, why are we going from 50 to
Yeah.
4? And is that related to
Yeah.
the Firestone property?
I believe the answers are yes, but I defer to the owner.
Right, I'd like to hear from the owner.
Yes.
I'd rather not.
That's fine.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Arthur Gonzalez. I'm the landlord over at A&J Motors. We've owned the property for about 50 years. Primarily, the reason for there was a little confusion here. I guess the town hall thought we were gone out of business because the building was gone. We're basically just wholesale, almost 100%. We don't do any retail selling. Joseph Masagi is the owner and manager of the license. But I'd like to keep it active. In order for him to keep selling cars wholesale, he has to have an active license. We've reduced it to 4 because there's just no need for we don't park any cars there. Nothing enters the property at all. And I would like to keep the license active for another reason. And Firestone's lease expires in 2054, and I thought that at that point in time, I might like to come before the board again and have it come back. And
It would be a totally different board by then, I would guess.
maybe. I don't know what we'll be selling then, but it might be cars. But anyhow, that's the reason why it's down to 4. If I appreciate the board's action on it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Yule?
I may be mixing AJ Motors. Where is AJ Motors located? You said 161? Let me, it says it right
You
here.
seen the new Firestone facility?
Yeah.
It'd be-
That's where it was.
It was right there.
Oh, okay. Then can I unrecuse myself?
I think it's D. I think it's D.
You may.
Recuse myself?
Permission granted, Mr.
Thank
Yule.
you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Best of luck.
Take care. Good luck.
And happy holidays.
Okay, now we have,
Shall I just go through what I have for a pile
Right.
here?
yeah,
You need a bottle of water or anything?
Not yet.
Oxygen?
This is for common victualer's license. Not fiddlers. Doesn't fiddlers. Common victual license. Mr. Chairman, I move to renew the following common victualer licenses to expire December 31st, 2015, subject to all regulatory department requirements. Beyond Bagels, Inc., China Cuisine, Dunkin' Donuts, Holly Donut, Great American Tavern, Horseshoe Cafe, Inc., Joe Fish Seafood Restaurant, Kitty's Restaurant and Lounge, Mario's Pizza and Sub, Mike's Famous Roast Beef and Pizza, Nan's Center Cafe, TBL Catering, DBA Hillview Country Club, S&M Subway, Starbucks, The Hornet's Nest, Teresa's Prime, Grill 19, Viasa LLC, DBA Subway.
Second.
any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Tell you what, Mr. Chairman, if the board members would just leave the bottom line open for me, I'll pass them around, and we'll keep on going. How's that?
Sounds good.
Be easier for me. Mr. Chairman, I move to renew the following common victualler all alcohol licenses to expire December 31st, 2015, subject to all regulatory department requirements.
Second.
No, I didn't
Oh,
give
you
the
gotta
names
hear 'em
yet.
first.
All right, the one
So-
over there. China Cuisine, Great American Tavern, Horseshoe Cafe, Inc., Joe Fish Seafood Restaurant, Kitty's Restaurant and Lounge, PBL Catering, DBA Hillview Country Club, Teresa's Prime, Grill 19.
Second.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, second by Mr. Yule. Any discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Frisco.
So at Teresa's, when they have a function hall, does the license around the function hall fall with Prime? Or is that a separate entity?
It's one license for the premises.
For the whole, okay. Okay. Now,
So that's the pool, that's everything.
everything.
And the pool's part of the Grill 19,
Okay.
But-
That was going to be my next question.
Yep.
Very good.
I believe, as you see here. The license says 20 Elm Street, consisting of a ballroom, grill room, and restaurant, together with the adjacent covered pavilion and patio areas with a total occupancy of 360 persons, seating for 202 persons, totaling approximately 28,392 square feet, as well as the adjacent enclosed pool area with occupancy for 50 persons and seating for 40 persons, totaling approximately 20,475 square feet. So, all
Keep
one-shot
reading.
deal.
I'm almost done.
And then,
On,
I'm sorry, then,
you have one other comment?
just one other comment. Then going back to it, when we did the Hornet's Nest, does that include their new place?
No,
Is it all
no,
tied? That's
two
a separate one.
Two separate locations.
entities.
Okay.
Separate entities.
Perfect. Thank you.
On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Same thing, please. I'll pass it along. Mr. Chairman, I move to renew the following common victular wine and malt beverage license to expire December 31st, 2015, subject to all regulatory department requirements. Mario's Sub and Pizza and Subs.
That's it?
Motion by
Second.
Mr. O'Leary, second by Mr. Yule. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Just have one comment I'd like to make before we get into the next one. In the past, we had seen the reports from the police, at least, making sure that there was no violations or anything outstanding on these before we voted on them. I know they're not in the packet, but if there was anything that was specific mentioned by the chief in the application that was submitted, because I believe you get a form from each department signing off, so if you could just let us know. I mean, I assume you would have, it was not in here, but if there was anything specific, I would appreciate it if you could let us know.
Sure, no, that's correct. We do request a comment from the major departments, which include the police, fire, building, health, CPC, Conservation Commission, and then we require the paperwork associated for insurance policies, et cetera, for the various categories. And the licenses that are presented to the board have checked off positively from all the departmental reviews. You'll see as we get to the end, there are a few that are incomplete in some areas, and we've made provisions in the motions to accommodate that for renewal.
Thank you.
Do we have something to-
Yeah, I think we all do.
Okay.
We all do. There should be 5 lines there, but there isn't. Mr. Chairman, I move to renew the following package store wine and malt beverage licenses to expire December 31st, 2015, subject to all regulatory department requirements. Christopher's Market Convenience Plus.
Second.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, second by Mr. Yule. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I move to renew the following package store all alcohol licenses to expire December 31st, 2015, subject to all regulatory department requirements. New England Beverage and Redemption, One Stop Liquors.
Second.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, seconded by Mr. Yule. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I move to renew the following fraternal club licenses to expire December 31st, 2015, subject to all regulatory department requirements. Loyal Order of Moose.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, second by Mr. Yule. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous?
Mr. Chairman, I move to renew the following, this one here. Mr. Chairman, I move to renew the following automatic amusement device licenses to expire December 31st, 2015, subject to all regulatory department requirements. Candlewood Lanes, Inc., Kitty's Restaurant and Lounge, Loyal Order of Moose.
Second.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, seconded by Mr. Yule. Any discussion?
No, sir.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Did you skip over one?
I did, but I'm gonna hold it.
Okay.
Just till I, because I'm gonna abstain on that one. Mr. Chairman, I move to renew the following jukebox license to expire December 31st, 2015, subject to all regulatory department requirements. Loyal Order of Moose.
Second.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, seconded by Mr. Yule. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous?
Mr. Chairman, I move to renew the following Sunday entertainment license to expire December 31st, 2015, subject to all regulatory department requirements. Teresa's Prime Grill 19.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Yule. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous?
Mr. Chairman, this is a late edition. Came in, all the documentation was submitted after we got our packets, but in time for tonight's meeting. Mr. Chairman, I move to renew the following licenses to expire December 31st, subject to all regulatory department requirements. North Reading Christopher Club, Fraternal Club License. North Reading Christopher Club, Common Victular License. Heavenly Donuts, Common Victular License.
Second.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, second by Mr. Yule. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous?
Mr. Chairman, I move to renew the following licenses. Let's see. Mr. Chairman, I move to renew the following licenses to expire December 31st, 2015, subject to a status review in January 2015. I don't know what day.
23rd.
On January 23rd?
Yeah, we were waiting to set the meeting dates, January, so that's why it wasn't identified, but it would be January 23rd.
Okay, wouldn't be the first one? Wouldn't be the 20th? We're meeting on the 12th and the 26th of January?
Yeah.
12th and 26th. of
Sorry.
So what would you like? 12th?
Still the second meeting.
26th.
Second meeting.
23rd. 30 days.
26th, okay.
26.
Okay, I move to renew the following licenses to expire December 31st, 2015, subject to a status review on January 26, 2015, and further, subject to all regulatory department requirements. Hess Express, packages store, wine and malt beverages, non-threatening transportation, livery license, sports, spirits and steaks, common victular all alcohol, automatic amusement devices, Wendy's, common victular.
Second?
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, second by Mr. Yule. Discussion?
Yes, I guess I'd like to know what the difference is between these and,
Certainly. So as was indicated earlier, we go through and we track all of the licenses for responsiveness by not only the town departments in commenting, but in the submission of various paperwork that goes along with the application. And so the ones that were just identified, their applications are nearly complete. However, there's documentation that they've not submitted to us for a variety of potential reasons, some of which may be completely legitimate. But just going through the list, if you'd like, in the case of Wendy's, their common victular license, we're awaiting workers' compensation form that they need to provide, as well as payment of the fee by the corporate office. In the case of sports, spirits, and steaks, they are still in the process of complying with the civil fingerprinting bylaw. In the case of North Reading Transportation, they're in the process of complying with the civil fingerprinting bylaw and providing us a workers' compensation certificate. And in the case of Hess Express, they are in the process of complying with the civil fingerprinting bylaw. I should note that these establishments were provided notice of renewal, I think the first week in November, by written letter, so that we do try to provide notice, but for whatever reason, there are some that have not totally complied yet. And after speaking with town council with regard to the status, his advice was to renew for the year, but to schedule a status review in case they've not complied between now and then.
does that mean that in January, the second meeting, if they still haven't answered, we can revoke
He would-
the license?
My intention would be that at that second meeting to provide a status update and a recommendation, which could include potentially scheduling a hearing that may result in suspension or revocation, yes. But the next step would be a review on January 26th, a recommendation being made in the board, as it has done in other disciplinary matters, for example, scheduling a hearing for it to take place. But I do not expect that I'd be recommending the hearing take place on that evening,
Right.
that we schedule it that evening for a future date.
So a hearing would be the next step?
Correct.
Okay, not revocation.
It would be a hearing, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
But actually, Jeff brings up a good point. If we vote on them tonight and then are not satisfied on the 26th, then you have to schedule a hearing.
That would be correct.
Have they submitted their stuff? Well, if we don't vote on them tonight, then we just not renewing their licenses? Or are they?
That's correct, their licenses would not be renewed.
Then they can't do business.
No, I understand.
Just would it be,
asking a
Mr.
question.
Chairman, if I might, would it be a misunderstanding or a misstatement that if they comply by the 31st of December, they're going to be allowed to continue to operate
Exactly.
January 1st?
That's correct.
You know, basically, they're
Right,
going
right.
in compliance. If they haven't, this would still allow them to operate until the 26th,
That's correct.
at which time we would then, if
Right,
given a reason, have a show cause hearing not to renew.
right. My only point was.
But my guess is, if not all of them, my guess is
Yeah,
that
they're
all of
gonna
them will be in
comply,
compliance
absolutely.
by next
Right.
week.
Yeah. I just want to make sure I understand the process. But on something that you said, Steve, until the 26th, I don't think that's correct. On the 26th, if they haven't supplied the necessary documentation, then at that point, we would schedule a hearing, which allows them to continue to do business at least until that hearing. So
That's correct.
it would extend beyond the 26th.
Well, depending on what we just, depending on the status review, what we
Right,
determine to do.
right. Okay, thank you.
I mean, at that point, I think we would be within our rights to say cease and desist until you come in, too.
Yes, probably.
That's what we choose to do.
Is that
But
right?
I don't see us having an issue with most of, any of these establishments.
I mean, what I would say, what I'm hearing is there may be a desire to have compliance sooner and potentially act sooner if the board needed to be. So what I could suggest is that we set the deadline to be January 12th, and then be able to schedule the hearing for
No,
January 26th.
I'm okay with the 26th. I'm okay with the 26th, because I would expect, I think if we communicate with these people, and I'm sure there'll be some communication between tonight and tomorrow night, that, you know, basically you can tell them, we're shutting you down if you don't comply right now by the end of the year, but we're giving you a little breathing room,
Mhm.
so get it done. And looking at the establishments, I think is they want to continue to operate.
Yeah.
So,
So on the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
let's see. Okay, these next two. Pass these along. Mr. Chairman, I move to renew the following licenses to expire January 1st, 2016. 2016. Why is that? Instead of December 31st?
The anniversary dates for the Class
Oh.
1, 2, and 3 license are
Okay.
January 1st.
Subject to all regulatory department requirements. Melconian Subaru, Class 1, license, Greenbrier Classic Motors, Class 2.
Second.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, second by Mr. Yule.
Mr. Chairman, I will not be participating in the discussion or deliberations of the board, nor will I will be abstaining from the vote, because I have a family relative that has a Class 2 license. And the Class 1 and Class 2, as a Class 1 license holder, they also hold a Class 2.
Thank you, Mr. O'Leary. Do I hear a second?
They
Second.
did, yeah.
I did.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, second by Mr. Yule. Any discussion beyond what Mr. O'Leary has already said? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I move to renew the following Class 1 license to expire December 31st, 2015, subject to all regulatory department requirements. North Reading Motorsports, Inc.
Second.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, second by Mr. Yule.
Once again, Mr. Chairman, as a Class 1 license holder, they also have the same rights as a Class 2 license holder, which I have a family member that holds a Class 2 license. Therefore, I will not be participating in the deliberations of the board, and I will be abstaining.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining?
Aye.
Motion carries.
You have to do something about the cousin of yours.
Huh?
You have to do something about that relative of yours.
No kidding. Mr. Chairman, I move to sign the ABCC 2015 renewal certification.
Second.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, second by Mr. Yule. Any discussion?
Just by way of explanation, this is just reporting to the ABCC of if any licensees have failed to renew their license for 2015, or if the board has decided to disapprove. So,
On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous?
Sorry.
okay. You ready for the next item, Mr. Chairman? Appointments and reappointments? You are, okay. Mr. Chairman, I move to place in nomination the following name for reappointment as a detailed constable for a term to expire December 31st, 2015. One detailed constable, Jerry Berg.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, seconded by Mr. Yule. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous?
Mr. Chairman, I move to place in nomination the following name for reappointment as a member of the Forest Committee for a term to expire December 31st, 2017. There's one opening. Stephen Nathan, 301 Haverhill Street.
Second.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, seconded by Mr. Yule. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I move to place in nomination the following names for reappointment as members of the Historic District Commission for a term to expire December 31st, 2017. There are three openings. David Ham, 126 Chestnut Street, incumbent. Paul Chapman, 97 Chestnut Street, incumbent. Mark Hall, 12 Upton Ave, incumbent. Thomas Kelly, 4 Burnham Drive, person seeking appointment.
Second.
Do I hear a second? Second by Mr. Yule. This will be any discussion first? This will be a roll call vote. Is there an opening for a associate member, Steve, do you know?
Not in front of me, but Mr. Kelly is also seeking appointment to the Library Trustees as an associate member. Also,
Who's that again?
That's correct.
Mr. Kelly.
Second.
So if, in our deliberations, looking forward,
Okay, roll call vote. Mr. O'Leary,
Mr. Ham, Mr. Chapman, Mr. Hall.
Mr. Yule,
Yes, Mr. Ham, Mr. Chapman, Mr. Hall.
Mr. Fode,
Mr. Ham, Mr. Chapman, Mr. Hall.
Mr. Prisco.
Mr. Ham, Mr. Chapman, Mr. Hall.
And chair votes David Ham, Paul Chapman, and Mark Hall. Mr. Prisco.
Well, it's probably too late now, but, I mean, couldn't we just can we change the motion and add another person?
I think that
No.
the membership is limited.
Membership is
Historic District Commissions, there's bylaws limiting the number of members. And I don't know that there's provisions for associates and not. We can check into that.
He's also applied to be an associate of the library trustees, and that's going to happen.
Thank you. And so I think it was unanimous for the 3 voters?
Yes,
Yes.
5-0 for Mr. Ham, 5-0 for Mr. Chapman, 5-0 for Mr. Hall.
When you're ready, Mr. O'Leary.
Mr. Chairman? Just if I would note, pursuant to our conversation, we have a motion on the forthcoming for appointment to the library trustees as a regular member, and then at your request, also a motion for appointment for associate members as well. So I just encourage the members to look at both page 8 and page 9 in your motions in your packet. It'll show you the 2 that I'm referring to.
It's Mr.
Page 8 and page...
Should be, how come this was modified?
Got it.
Not include.
It was on here, I'm not sure why, actually.
Okay.
I mean, the next one is supposed to incorporate.
Right,
Okay.
so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add these
I
2
see.
names to here. Then
Take the
it changes to appointment.
And then take a roll, right?
Take the roll and then presumably.
Let's see, 6.
that mean, say associate discussion?
Just be,
No, this is for regular.
just
member.
to clarify on the library trustees, and I've spoken to the trustees, we will vote on the 4 members
Right.
and a roll call.
Right.
And pending on the outcome, the additional 2 members, whoever they may be, are interested in being appointed as
Right, I
associates.
just modified the motion to include all 4 names for
Okay.
appointment.
Mr. Chairman, just to make sure I'm clear on this, there's 2 openings, so we're really only voting for 2
Correct.
You can move-
members.
We're going to do a roll call
Okay,
vote for 2.
2. And then on the associates, we're going
The
to
other
address
2.
that.
Right. and
Yeah, okay, that sounded different to me, that's
The
all.
remaining members, who they may be, are interested in being associate members.
Mr. Chairman, I move to place in nomination the following names for appointment as members of the library trustees for terms to expire December 31st, 2017. There are 2 openings. Marcia Bailey, 21 Duane Drive. Lynn Parker, 24 Haverhill Street. Sarah Harrington, 6 Hemlock Road. Thomas Kelly, 4 Burnham Drive.
Do we hear a
Second.
second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Yule. Further discussion? Hearing none, I'll have a roll call vote. Mr. O'Leary.
Marcia Bailey, Lynn Parker.
Mr. Yule.
Marcia Bailey, Lynn Parker.
Mr. Fode.
Marcia Bailey, Lynn Parker.
Mr. Christie.
Marcy Bailey, Lynn Parker.
And chair votes Marcia Bailey, Lynn Parker. That's 5-0 for Marcia Bailey and Lynn Parker.
Mr. Chairman, I move to place in nomination the following names for associate members of the library trustees for terms to expire on December 31st, 2017. Sarah Harrington, 6 Hemlock Road. Thomas Kelly, 4 Burnham Drive. No limitation on the trustees.
Second.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, second by Mr.
Yule is his name.
Yule, yeah.
Just curious.
I'm way ahead of myself here. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? Okay, we got
Processing service.
process serving constables. We have 5 openings, so we have 3 candidates. Mr. O'Leary.
One sec, please. You're getting ahead of me here. Let's see. Mr. Chairman, I move to place in nomination the following names for appointment or reappointment as process-serving constables for terms to expire December 31st, 2015. As you pointed out, there are 5 openings and 3 candidates, all incumbent members who have been active in the service. Paul Dorsey, 18 Magnolia Road. John Fiorello, 1 Sullivan Road. Douglas Lab, 130 Chestnut Street.
Second.
Motion by Mr. O'Leary, second by Mr. Yule. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Next,
Motion to go back to executive session.
No, we have to do water.
Then we have the,
Just kidding.
Interconnection.
It's in the amendment.
We'll do a town administration report.
no, then we have the, did we do the mobile home?
I didn't see any.
There were no motions prepared for that commission at this point.
so we're all done with appointments
Is
and licenses. These are signed, with the exception of, I think, Steve, you haven't signed.
I have to sign something, right?
Thank you, Joe. Okay, we have town administrator's report.
Mr. Chairman, I believe that the hard copies in front of the board this evening do not have the item 12 listed as discuss intermunicipal water agreements. I will note that the revised Dropbox packet should show that on the agenda, and then the second package in the Dropbox for tonight's meeting entitled supplemental also includes a spreadsheet to which I'll be making reference. I would note that this was something that came up after the posting of the meeting on Thursday, and a revised agenda was posted, and I believe blasted by email as well on Friday morning, as soon as this came to our attention. Mr. Chairman, at your request, we put together what we'll call a comparison that shows a couple of scenarios and the resulting cost to the town to acquire water. And the comparisons that are on the spreadsheet, and I'll wait, it's the last page of the supplemental packet. If anybody has not found it, I'll certainly wait.
Don't wait for me, I'll catch up.
Okay. And essentially, Mr. Chairman, at your request, we tried to model what the cost of the town would be under scenarios, with a starting point basically being the intermunicipal agreement that was approved by the Andover Board of Selectmen and forwarded to us in November. So we used the assumptions in that document and tried to model them out over the 10-year life of the agreement. And we used two scenarios. The first scenario, again, as you suggested, was that we follow the terms of the agreement that were proposed and then move to acquire 100% of our water from the MWRA. And the second scenario is one where, as the board had recommended when it first took up this matter, when the proposal from Andover was forwarded to us in late November, I believe, is one where we would essentially step down our consumption from Andover over a 4 or 5 year period to a point of being 0.1 million gallons per day in the year 2024. And
Sorry.
Can everybody follow that?
so in modeling it, what we tried to show here is essentially the water-only cost. In the case of Andover, the cost of the water through the IMA, and in the case of the MWRA, the cost of water through an interconnection with the MWRA, and building into that cost the connection fee that we would need to pay the MWRA, as well as any known capital investment that we would have to make at this point in time to serve the town of North Reading with MWRA water.
So just to make clear, scenario one would be as it was proposed by Andover recently, which included a 25% penalty to be paid for the 1 year in advance notice of termination, which could occur any year after 4 rather. So that scenario one assumes termination at the end of 5 years, meaning you give notice in year 4 and you pay the premium. That's in those sets of numbers. And in the second scenario, beginning in year 6, we go to 0.8, 0.6, 0.4, 0.2, and then 0.1 of the 300 million gallons a year of consumption. And when you run the numbers to determine which is the best direction to go, keep in mind that Andover has not agreed to the scenario 2. We haven't really proposed it, except I had an informal discussion with one of their selectmen. Turns out that the better deal, based on looking at the numbers, is to go forward with what they've proposed. Am I reading that correctly?
When we did the modeling, with the assumptions being similar, with the exception of the reduction, it appears that over the 6 involved years, which would essentially be year 4 through 10 of an intermunicipal agreement, the 6-year savings, if we were to purchase only from the MWRA, would be $182,726. So that was the assumption that we, that was the differential that we were able to identify. There are other costs that would be in here. but we believe that they would be largely the same for any scenario. So they would be the
Right.
overhead for the water distribution system, indirect services, et cetera.
And what we did was, we said, we're going forward with MWRA. We made the assumptions that regardless of
Oh,
which approach we move down, the MWRA cost, the capital cost, the buy-in cost, and everything would be about the same. So just taking it out of the equation and just look at the numbers associated with purchasing water from Andover, or taking it, in the early years from our wells. Yes, Mr.
I
O'Leary?
have a question in relation to if we have, we're purchasing from two sources, MWRA and Andover simultaneously. It's my understanding that there's some sort of a concern in relation to being able to meld the waters together, so maybe we'd have to do it in a district fashion, where one portion of the town will be Andover water, the other portion will be MWRA. And again, I don't know what costs would be associated with providing ourselves that opportunity, because again, I think we need to maintain, I'd like to see us maintain some sort of a relationship with Andover as a backup water supply. And again, as I proposed a long time ago, potentially helping, wean them off of us, because being presented here in scenario 2, whether those are the numbers or not, as far as number of gallons, those can be played with. But if that's the case, we're going to have to invest in some other infrastructure, it would appear, to maintain the relationship with Andover if we're going to have them purchase it simultaneously.
Steve, I think the concern was if we were going to use all three sources, so our own wells, Andover, and MWRA's, I think trying to get the three of them to be in sync would have been a problem, but I think being able to deal with the two is not as big a deal, and I don't think it will require any capital costs on our part to make that happen.
So only if we maintain our own wells along with the other two sources. I thought there was a concern as far as blending Andover water with MWRA water.
I thought it was the three of them, unless you heard something different.
No,
Steve.
there was significant concern with blending the three, that's for certain.
What about two?
In terms of dealing with the two, in the first discussion that we had, they identified that there are communities that do both, that depending upon the situation in the community, depending upon the mixture, some communities have elected to go with a separate district because it allows them to not have to treat the water, so that the two are melded into an acceptable water standard, but that there are also scenarios where communities have successfully melded the two as well, and that has not been a problem. But that those are options that we just need to be aware of.
Yeah, I just didn't know if we are going to blend them together, is there going to be some other capital cost for us, whether it be a treatment plant or something to do that successfully to meet MWRA standards?
There would be an action we would need to take, but from the analysis I've seen at this point, I don't believe it's significant.
MWRA, when we met with them, seemed to think if it was only two, there was going to be a
Right.
minimal problem.
Okay, just think, if we're going to go that way, we should just be cognizant of it and quantify it. So it's not much, I don't know what not much is.
Just a quick question. Where is it showing the 25% payout to Andover?
It's a year 5, 2019 in the first model.
See, it goes from 4,000,
Yeah.
318, it jumps to 5.
Okay, thank you, yep. I thought it was gonna show one lump sum, but that's, okay, thanks.
So-
It was in the other models in
Yeah,
one lump sum.
okay.
I rolled it into
Yeah.
one.
I'm
Thank you.
sorry, I'm not saying that, what year?
I had asked,
Right here.
Oh, I'm
From 43 to 55.
Okay, gotcha.
I had suggested to Mike
Yeah,
that
no,
we
it's-
consolidate this.
Yep.
Because the big sheet just made it
Yeah, no, no.
difficult to understand. We would have spent an hour trying
No, I
to get
agree.
everybody on board.
I agree.
So this is one piece of that agreement that was forwarded to Michael by the town administrator back a few weeks ago. Was the rate structure, which started at $3 per 100 cubic feet, went up 2% a year, and had the termination clause of a 25% penalty for early termination with the 1 year advance notice of that termination. The other piece was some language in there related to us paying some of their infrastructure costs, and that's clearly has to be sorted out, because there shouldn't be any infrastructure cost associated with them supplying water for the next 5 years. I did speak, and I asked a question to one of the selectmen that I met with, and he said that they were contemplating increasing the size of the pipe from their wells and treatment plant to a distribution center near a school. And I don't know exactly where that is, but it's, what I was told, it wasn't too far away from their well site, without knowing any numbers or anything. But that was the only thing he thought was in the plan in the short term.
But again, why would that impact us as
Yeah.
opposed to any other ratepayer in the town of Andover? This-
Exactly. It would be included in the rate.
I would anticipate that it would, rather than an additional surcharge to
Right.
Right.
the biggest customer.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Council.
And therefore, that's a piece of the language in that agreement that was sent that we've got to get fixed. Is there anything else in there that,
No,
those are the two items, right?
I believe so. I think that at this point, the next step would be the formal meeting of the subcommittees of the two boards. We've advised, I've advised the town manager in a conversation on Friday that we were going to have a conversation this evening that yourself and Selectman Fode wanted to get a sense of the board with regard to a proposal they wanted to bring back. This proposal is consistent with what we identified as a concern a month ago when we first reviewed this, and hopefully we'll have a productive dialogue in a joint meeting with Andover.
And the person I spoke to is very anxious to get this thing resolved, and by the end of January, have a signed document. Mr. O'Leary.
A couple of points. One is, I'm not necessarily, I don't think North Reading ratepayers should be subject to any different rate than the residential ratepayers, which is all one rate up there from what my understanding is. So businesses pay the same as the residents
now,
up there. And again, being the largest customer, I don't think we should be paying a premium on or above what their rates are, which is what they're looking for, is a 2.5% escalation clause. Was it 2% escalation clause?
2.5.
2.5% escalation clause annually for 5 years, you know, and then with an additional 25% penalty,
Right.
should we pull out after year 4, which in all likelihood will occur. So, I mean, I don't find that to be palatable. And secondly, in relation to any infrastructure costs that they're going to incur in order to maintain or expand their water supply system, that's just to be incurred by all ratepayers equally through the rate, as far as I'm concerned. I don't think that we should be paying any additional premium for any capital infrastructure costs that they're going to be incurring to either maintain or expand their system. But, as I stated before, and I appreciate the work that's been put into this, I would still be amenable, even though it costs us a little bit more. And again, I don't know what the timeline is at MWRA. Everything goes well, it works, scenario 1 works. But again, the town of Andover, since 1991, and that interbasin water transfer has been good neighbors, has supplied us and met the needs of North Reading extremely well. And I think we should acknowledge that. And the relationship has been good. I think we need to maintain a relationship. And I understand that, you know, they're going to be losing, what are we, about 18% of their revenue?
Roughly.
Approximately 18% of their revenue when we go away. So that's going to have a substantial adverse impact on their ratepayers up there. And if we can assist them through an agreement of assisting them in weaning themselves off of us over a longer extended period of time, and we can afford it, then we should offer that. If they're going to stick hard and fast to their proposal, there's no wiggle room for us to assist them.
Well, I think that one of the reasons why I have these two scenarios, if you look at that, and you look at it carefully, what it says is that the weaning off actually cost us more than paying the penalty.
Right.
I understand that. So that,
Okay.
I think the numbers need to be tweaked a bit. You know, if they want to extend that penalty period over a 4 or 5 year period, you know, and escalate the rates along with everybody else up there, then we're on par with everybody else, and we're just gonna be buying less water over a period of time. That will assist them in maintaining their rate structure far more easily than us giving them a shot in the arm and walking away.
As it stands, as the proposal stands, the starting number is below their current rate. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that right?
correct, by 10 cents.
And I think that should be open to
And
discussion too.
they have provided, sometime down, a couple months ago, their anticipated water rates in 5 years, which is substantially above the 2.5%. Now, I don't know how to believe. What I do know is that the 2.5% per year, you know, gives us a 5-year contract where we know exactly what our water
Exactly.
rate's gonna be. There's some value to that.
Potentially. There's some value in knowing what the numbers are going to be.
Yeah.
But the value may not be there if their base rate, if their rate, they only have one rate, is less than what
My
we're paying.
guess is their rate's going up.
And
Yeah.
we don't know the other terms and conditions that are gonna be, that we're gonna be forced to.
And we don't know if they're gonna go split rates or not, and as
Right.
we talked before, maybe we should talk with them about looking at the
But
percentage
we'll
of
be
usage.
talking from noonday to Sunday, so you know, we need some direction. I think, you know, we need an opportunity to meet again and have another discussion, but, you know, I think that we're close to coming to an agreement that at least tracks back to where we were when we all agreed back on a 10-year contract back last February. Because we're dealing essentially with the same rates. Mr. Yule,
Yes.
and then Mr. Purcell.
Mr. Chairman, the 2.5% increase that they're referring to would be per annum, correct?
What?
Per
Yes.
annum, per year?
Yes.
Per year, yes.
Okay. But do they have the same scheduled rate increase for their residents?
No,
So-
they
No.
don't.
And
They-
we're what, 10 cents below the residential rate?
Correct.
All right,
Well,
but it,
that's what we've offered, I believe.
No,
Well,
they are.
that's what this proposal
Right.
represents.
so eventually, if, I mean, we can't, in assessing it from my perspective, I can't assume that they're going to increase the rates to their residents, because they don't have a commitment to doing that. And we know that times you can get pressure from the residents not to increase rates. And in our case, we would be bound to that increase, where eventually we would be paying more than the residents. That's what I'm envisioning, okay? And I don't feel that our residents should be paying more for water than their residents.
Well, I think Mr. Prisco has.
Go ahead, Joe, and I'll go.
Looking at the scenario they're in and the fact that they're gonna be losing us at some point, you know, up to 90% of what we're purchasing from them, I'd be highly surprised if their rates, with their residential rates, don't go up 2.5%, at least 2.5% per year. You know, you gotta pick, I think you gotta pick your poison. If you turn around and say, we wanna go with what their residents are paying, if they have what happens if they have a 3 or 4% increase because they're losing a portion of the water they're selling to us, plus they're gonna do a rate analysis and realize we're gonna do a tiered system, and our lowest rate is gonna start even higher than that 2.5%. So I understand where we're coming from as far as we don't know where the residential rates are gonna be, but I think it allows, having the 2.5% allows us the consistency of knowing where we're gonna be over the next 5 to 10 years. I would be shocked if their rates, or if their residential rates don't go up anywhere from 2 to 2.5% per year. That's just a speculation on my part, but based on what we've been seeing with what they're going through, having a rate analysis, and then potentially after 4 years, losing us incrementally over the following 6 years, I'd be surprised if they weren't at least 2.5% residentially, but I don't know that. I don't have a crystal ball.
Mr. Prisco?
I need a little more clarity on the MWRA situation currently and where we're going before we make any decisions here. So is there a schedule in place? Do we have agreements in place? Do we have our budgets in place? Where are we with all that? Because we're making this decision based that we're going to connect to MWRA, but I have not seen an official plan presented to this board yet, and and a timeline associated with that, and so we could actually have a budget, because we're kind of guessing what we're going to be paying, but we have to have an
That's
infrastructure.
another advantage of having a 10-year agreement.
Again, but you don't know. Maybe we don't want a 10-year agreement, because if we find out that we can do all this, because there's an infrastructure money with
No,
the state.
The point is, this 10-year agreement, right,
Yeah.
has a penalty clause for early termination
Yeah,
of the 25%.
yeah.
We know that we're in the 5-year range for acquiring water from MWRA.
Well, we
We have a
don't
lot of
know
work to
that.
do.
We don't know that. We haven't received anything officially stating that.
It's up to us to initiate the appropriate expenditures to make this thing happen. I
Okay,
gather that,
But my,
Well, I think there's a meeting in January. I think it's going to be able to help that a lot. I think it's January 9th.
That's correct. To potentially
end of
at least somewhat answer the question, I can't give obviously can't provide the, a definitive prediction, but I can tell you what has happened, which is that, that there have been working discussions that have taken place to review not only the financial implications, but the infrastructure implications, the capacity available in the surrounding communities as well, to identify what alternatives would be available. We do believe that in January we'll have a better idea, but again, I do think that to be able to say with any, to say definitively, I'm not sure what the timeline would be for that at this point in time, just being forthright with regard to the situation that we're in. But the effort is underway, it's been underway, it's been a priority in the Department of Public Works, and it'll continue to be for us.
well, in the discussion, will it come up about the water infrastructure money that exists through the state? Because I think we're a perfect candidate for that money.
Well, in the models that we've reviewed, and this was not factored in here, but we've been factoring up to a potential 50% subsidy of our connection to the MWRA. That number is not in here. That's these are conservative projections by my estimation.
Okay.
it is in the big spreadsheet model.
Yeah, I mean, that's your, what you're looking at right there is worst case scenario.
That's right.
Okay, and that's what I wanted to make sure I'm clear on.
Mhm.
That this is a worst-case scenario.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Selectmen, I'd be happy to provide you a briefing that maybe give you a higher level of comfort.
I would really appreciate that.
If you have time, you want to look at the full, you forget 3 hours.
He does.
Any other comments regarding this?
Just in relation to their situation, and to Joe's point that, he thinks that they're going to be facing a rate increase for their residents up there. It's my understanding they have a pretty good reserve fund right now in order to stabilize rates, which, and I'm just looking strictly from political pressures and political standpoint. I know that when they were proposing a rate increase up there, which we would consider modest here in North Reading, there was a pretty significant outcry from the residents up there, and the elected officials are going to massage that as best they can in order to mitigate the impact. They're not going to have a substantial, I don't believe they would want to have a substantial increase. It's just going to be over a period of time. Each year they're going to have to incrementally do something. Is it to the tune of 2.5%? That's significant. I
That's
don't
big.
know that they will.
Well-
I think what they do is they use their reserves and spread it out over a period of time. And like all of us, once we're off the board, let the
Good
next
point.
guy's worry about it.
Yep.
I think they, whatever reserves they have, and they've spent some of it already in litigation, I think they're looking at using it to help absorb the impact of us leaving.
Right,
Okay.
which is another way of
Which is a
saying,
different.
which is
yeah.
another way of saying mitigating the impact on the residents up there for as long a period of time as they possibly can. And, you know, so, you know, well, knowing it's 2.5% per year, you know, for whether it be 5 years or 10 years, or whatever it's going to be. And again, I know this is all going to be open for discussion, but, you know, you're talking about, you know, 0.8, 0.6, 0.2. I'm guessing those are minimal amounts that need to be purchased. It doesn't preclude us from purchasing more if we need it, if the MWRA situation goes a
Oh, yeah.
little over a protracted
Correct.
period of time. So that being said, to Michael's point, as far as concerned, where are we on track, not on track? Is it 5 years? We don't want to drop dead and have to pay it then, and then be without
Right.
the water source, or be it, you know, at their mercy, you know, in year 5.
No, I mean, I've been, if we go back quite a while ago, I felt that, you know, we should have a 10-year contract, that we were 10 years out on water. And Joe brought up the fact that, based on his knowledge and what was going on in the state, and there were opportunities to take advantage of some things. And, you know, we've had our engineering people working on this, that there's a possibility we can get water a lot sooner. So having this 10-year agreement in place, and, you know, basically, they want us to buy 300 million gallons, guaranteed 300 million gallons a year for the next 10 years. And if we want to leave early, we can, with the penalty. And to me, at this point, I'd like that number to be lower, but knowing what the numbers are allows us to do our planning, and I think it's a better situation for us, rather than try to second guess them and, you know, convince them to agree that we'll pay their residential rate. You know, I don't know. You know, at this point, I think we have an obligation to get something done. And this has come a long way from where they were only a couple months ago. But we are going to sit down with them and we're going to talk.
I'm not so sure I'm in agreement of a 10-year any longer, based on what I'm learning and understanding about
Well,
MWRA.
that's what they've offered.
I mean, we were there, and back in February of last year, I was very much in support of it. But a lot has changed, and I think from the best interest of this town, I'm not so sure. I mean, obviously, I'd allow you to continue your discussions and put on the table everything over, you know, so we can look at this
Well,
overall.
the way the agreement reads is that after year 4, we can give them a 1-year notice to terminate, which means it's a 5-year agreement with a penalty.
Yeah.
Or any other year up to 10. You know, if we stay to it the whole 10 years, then there's no penalty.
But again, if we end up in year 6 and year 7 with a 2.5% incremental increase, you know, your 25%
Right.
kicker
It's
grows
getting bigger.
substantially.
Yeah.
You know,
Big.
so it's, that needs to be into the discussion too. At some
Yeah.
point, do we cap, if they're looking for a penalty, cap the penalty?
Or the penalty goes down.
Oh, the
Well,
penalty goes
if
down.
you
You know,
look
the
at-
penalty goes down because
What's-
we're purchasing
the longer
water
we stay on.
well
What's
beyond
the
what they were looking
I
for.
agree with that.
What's the anticipated rate of increase of MWRA water annually?
3%, right?
Was it 3?
3%.
Yeah.
That's for
I,
20 year.
I will say something, I agree with Steve in the fact that whatever the year 5 buyout is, if it's 25%, every year we stay on, that should go down. So,
Well, that's
Every
something
year.
we can talk about,
Right.
sure.
Right, that should be reduced, and our
Exactly.
minimum purchase requirements
Should-
should be reduced.
Exactly.
You know, so that if we decide to, again, continue on with our relationship and do a hybrid of the two scenarios here, two scenarios, you know, it provides us that opportunity to, again, minimize the impact on the penalty clause, and it provides them with additional resources that they weren't counting on. It can be a
Well, in
win-win.
fact, those numbers, the way they show, is that what we save, they lose. If you take the...
But if you go one more
If you
year,
take the scaled-down approach,
Right, they've made money off
they
this
you go
one.
one more year.
they get more revenue.
but if you go one more year, not only do they get additional revenue from us, they also get a bigger penalty clause.
Right.
Correct.
You know,
It's 2.5, it's 25% on the additional 2.5%.
Yeah.
Plus what we've purchased for that additional year.
plus what you purchased,
Right.
which they weren't anticipating
Right.
having that revenue.
Right, that's
which
why
helps
I agree.
stabilize
So it's
their
kind of a
rates,
double win.
which
Should
helps
go down.
stabilize their rates and minimize the impact on their ratepayers up there in Andover. So, I mean, you know, again, it comes back to, you know, how can we assist them in weaning them off, and at the same time, protect, you know, our ratepayers' interests, and everybody walk away fairly happy.
Okay?
Good.
Anything else?
Thank you for all the work on this.
Thank you.
So, Michael, you're gonna
Actually-
go ahead and try to schedule a meeting?
Yes, that's my intention.
And I did watch with interest our former resident, Mr. Pasquale, from
You did
formerly of
watch
12,
that?
from
Wasn't that
formerly of
something?
12 Hickory Lane, you know, described the board members, didn't have all the names right.
What, I,
Described us?
Yes,
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, did he?
yeah, what he did was he put up a flip chart, and he covered it up, and when they got to the discussing the water,
Well, no, this is
It's
an
a-
open session of, you know,
Yeah.
public comment.
public comment, he pulls his presentation out. On the left-hand side, he has all our names.
Not all
He didn't
of
have you,
He had Mr.
Jeff,
Delaney
he
on
had
there.
Sean Delaney. He
and
wasn't
I
up
think
to
he had
date
Joe's
on it.
name wrong. You weren't Fody, but you were somebody else.
Oh, good.
But that's okay.
works for me.
Then on the Andover
You can
side,
deny.
he had 4 of the selectmen and 1 missing. Alex Bispoli was
Bispoli.
missing. It was blank. And he starts talking about, you guys gotta get together and you gotta get this water rate squared away and you gotta develop trust with North Reading and so on and
there's
so
no trust
forth.
in it.
And then he says, and the only way this is gonna get done, and he draws a line from my name, he scrolls it
Down to
down to
Alex's.
the blank, and then he fills in Alex's name.
Oh, he did that on purpose.
Yeah, he did it on
then, yeah.
purpose
he
and
did
said,
it
you know,
on
these two
purpose.
guys need to be in the room. Yeah. And I don't
Yeah.
disagree, but
And
it was
we are
entertaining.
gonna be in the room.
Yeah, but it was entertaining nonetheless, to see John again back in action.
And he told him, I think more than once he said, be quiet, let me finish.
Yeah.
And if you wanna watch it, Bob, it's andovertv.com, .org.
.org, right.
It's entertaining. It lasts about 10 minutes.
enough memories
10 minutes.
to sustain.
He attends every one of their meetings.
Although it sounds as though he's going to Florida, and I think
Yeah,
they're
that's
all-
right.
that's why they just sat there quietly.
He
John's
told
a
him
great
he'd be
guy.
watching though.
No, John's a great guy.
Okay, anything else?
Related to that issue, no, Mr. Chairman.
Town administrators report, you wanna finish that up?
Thank you. For the board's information, I attached a copy of a summary sheet for property owner and resident obligations as they relate to snow removal in North Reading. I'd note again that a successful snow removal program in town depends not only on the efforts of our dedicated public works crews and contractors, but on cooperation from the public, particularly when it comes to sidewalks and with keeping snow out of the public way after a storm, after the road has been plowed. This flyer is going to be mailed in the January tax bill, which will go out in the mail on December 26th. So residents should expect to see it. We urge them to review it. All property owners, so we urge to review that flyer. As is stated in the flyer that I attached to my report, the town is going to host a public disaster planning meeting pursuant to our long-term hazard mitigation planning effort. All are invited to share their ideas for reducing the town's risk and vulnerability to natural hazards at a meeting to be held on Thursday, January 15th, 2015, at 6 o'clock here in the town hall in room 10. And notice of that meeting will be posted on the town website and submitted to NORCAM for broadcast as well. In response to a question that was raised at the last meeting, attached, please find a copy of a North Reading Police Department Facebook posting regarding a daytime burglary. The police department indicated that there has been a rash of residential burglaries in the area, and the chief informs me that the area was intended to identify our region and not necessarily North Reading in particular. The police department will continue to work with surrounding communities to review information related to house breaks moving forward. In response to another question that was raised at the last meeting, attached is a brief report from the fire chief regarding structure fires in recent months. Chief has told me that while there has been a rash of garage fires in the region, as has been widely reported, the recent garage fire in town was classified as undetermined, not suspicious. this point. And I believe that the data showed that the numbers were exactly the same with the number of structure fires between the two periods, 2013 and 2014.
So we've only had one building fire every year?
No, during that period of
September
time,
through
it was
December.
September to December 1st.
Right. That's it? Just one?
One for that 3-month period in each year.
Because I thought there was, I had read that there were some sheds lit on fire.
There has been an issue with regard to garages and potentially sheds in other communities, but not
Not
in
us.
North
Okay.
Reading, to the chief's knowledge.
Perfect, thank you.
And the final item I would just note is, obviously, the board is aware it's a pretty significant lift to go through the licensing renewal process, and I know you are all individually involved with the appointments and trying to get all of that in order, but I just want to express my appreciation to Jane and Karen for their hard work over the past 6
Every
weeks,
year.
trying to keep
Yeah.
everything in order. It's a lot of work, and almost all of it is behind the scenes, and they've been right on top of it the whole way through. I certainly appreciate the board's flexibility. We had a number of motions that were hand-delivered this evening to the clerk, so thank you, Mr. Clerk, for that. And that's a result of a continued ongoing effort. And then my final comment would just be to wish happy holidays to all of the town employees. I know that so many work so hard day in and day out, and for those that are able to enjoy time with their family at some point over the next week or so, I hope that they can do that. Certainly is well-deserved, and I want to extend my appreciation and my best wishes to them. So that concludes my comments. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Prisco.
In regards to the license stuff, work that you're doing, do we have any businesses that have not responded, that we've had to go back several times? I know in past years we've had an issue.
We do. We have the items that I identified in the particular motion that referenced the things that were missing. And in addition to that, we have 2 establishments that have actually not applied for renewal, but that we have every reason to believe will be seeking renewal, one of which is a Dunkin' Donuts, and the other of which is a Class 2 license. So we do have 2 still that after all this time have not applied. My understanding from what's happened in the past is that after this meeting happens, the last meeting of the year, a notice is sent to the businesses advising them that their license has not been renewed and that they are in violation as of January 1st.
Okay.
And they're directed to submit all the paperwork forthwith.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Yule.
Yes, so after tonight, they're going to get an immediate notice that, these 2 in particular,
Correct.
right, okay.
That concludes my comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Just in relation to, I don't think this is what Jane expected when she signed up for this. This was a surprise, huh?
Overwhelming, it's a lot.
Well done.
Thank you.
See, next year it'll be old hat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope.
I hope.
As I was signing the documents, I was thinking just that.
It's like trying to
There's a lot
herd,
of paper that had to be
it's like trying to
produced.
herd cats, though, getting people to get all this stuff in here.
No, but one
Getting
of my-
us to get our appointments in.
Yeah, but one of the frustrating things, when you have a few businesses that don't respond to the letters they've sent out now on multiple occasions, it is very frustrating. And every year, we seem to have 1 or 2 that cause them a lot of extra work, and it's so unnecessary, and I think disrespectful in some cases, so.
Mr. Chairman.
These seem to be different, well, one of them is different, I think, right? I recall-
One of them. I don't know, he didn't mention who the other one was, so.
Would the board like to know the other establishment? There's no lines here, so I have to look closely. North Reading Auto Sales is the other Class 2 license that has not yet applied for renewal. If I may, Mr. Chairman, again, she's not here, but Karen has been very helpful in guiding, I think, both of us through the process and the intricacies of how it has worked successfully here in North Reading. I've had experience, obviously, in another community, but each community does do it differently. And I can tell you that she is the steward of a very organized process that I think is very effective. I know she's not here this evening, and I'm sure she's very busy with her family at home, but I'd like to thank her for her help as well. Thank you.
Should probably watch it, though.
I doubt it.
Old and new business.
With the family, right?
Just have really one question, more of a pet peeve, and I was just kind of curious from the board members. it really relates to the brand-new traffic lights that we just put up, and we spent the extra $40,000 or $45,000 to put the decorative lights in. But if you notice down there, now I've seen it on 2 occasions, people either have a yard sale or they lost a dog or something, and they tape that duct tape or they tape the packing tape around this pole that we spent $45,000 to put in. And I assume under the CPC rules, it's got to be some kind of restriction against it. But I only mentioned mainly for Steve. I'm curious if the SSBC has seen that, because I'm sure when they go to pull that off and the paint comes off, it's not going to be a happy moment. But I've noticed it even in our neighborhoods. They put we have green poles, but you can see where all the green paint is now taken off, because when you go to remove the duct tape, it takes all the paint off. And I don't know, if, Michael, if there's every chance you have an opportunity to talk to Danielle, or I may mention it next time I see her, but it is becoming a pet peeve, especially since I've seen that gross, ugly tape all around our beautiful poles that we spent all that extra money on. I'll get off my little soapbox on it, but it's just a pet peeve, and I'm curious if, over the years, you've been on the board far longer than I have you witnessed the same thing, and does that frustrate you, or is there anything
We haven't
you
had
do?
too many of the, until recently, we didn't have the nice green painted poles in the center of town. So what we have is, if you look at the telephone poles or the light poles that are out there, there's probably about 143 pounds of staples.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that.
You're okay with the
I can live with the wood ones,
Yeah.
but when we have the painted pole, especially this decorative pole,
Yeah.
it's just so unnecessary.
Well,
And I'm kind of concerned, if they go to remove
We could solve
that.
the problem by just sticking with the wooden poles.
I voted against it, but I didn't,
No, but,
Anyway.
I mean, the only other thing you can do is, I mean, obviously, if there's advertising a yard sale, it has an address, hold the people responsible.
That's,
Hold the people responsible, that becomes a police issue, I suppose, or.
Yeah.
I mean, the
or
biggest,
a zoning
It's
enforcement.
damn
the other
That's
issue
But
too is
zoning
take,
enforcement,
following up with
police
taking them down afterwards. I'm assuming DPW is taking them down.
Or
I mean-
Mother
As you
Nature.
take.
Right, on Mother Nature, and they're following, I mean, they should, maybe you develop a, and I hate to say it, because it's just more work for somebody else, but
Some sort of a policy.
policy, yeah,
Right.
and then that person has to take it down, follow
You
within
take-
24 hours.
You take it down and you hand deliver it to.
I would just ask the
CPC.
residents, if anyone's listening at home, to just find a wooden pole nearby. I mean, there is one right next to it, by the way, it's wooden, they could have attached it to, but they put it on the beautiful decorative pole, so if we
Call
could.
them.
That you're right.
I didn't
pointed out
stop
they
and
paid a
look
lot
and
of
see if there was
extra
a
money
number
for-
on there, but it's a very good point that you
When they
made.
finish, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm waiting. I'm being patient.
And I really don't have anything else tonight, because I know we have some other things to do. Just Merry Christmas to my board members, your families, the community at large. Happy holidays to everyone. And again, I want to just send out another thank you to the folks in the food pantry. If you've seen their Facebook page, they've put together a lot of meals for families around town and gifts for the kids that when the parents can't supply for them. And I just think, I can't just say enough wonderful things and appreciation for their efforts. It's a wonderful community we live in, so, and thank you, and Happy New Year to everyone.
Mr. Fode.
Right, Mr. Yule
Oh,
had
so-
something to
I'm
comment
sorry.
on.
I just want,
follow
I don't want to belabor, but I
Okay.
think that the CPC was addressing signs on poles towards the end of my last term. And they, I don't know where they went with it, but you might want to touch base with them in that regard, because I think they had addressed it, its size and whether when they have to be taken down and so on. But I'm not 100% sure, but I'm sure that's what they did. The other thing on that pole that we spent all that money, that it's painted? You mean it's not, with all that money, that pole is not just
Powder
is that-
coated,
I don't know.
Probably powder coated.
powder coated.
But if you look at the
You can still
tape,
pull it off.
yeah,
Yeah, wow,
there's a
that's
tremendous amount of
surprising.
tape on that
That's
pole, so.
surprising. Okay, so I'm sorry. I
Even
didn't
if
mean to
the paint doesn't
belabor
come
it.
off,
Yeah,
The glue's gonna be-
the duct tape stays on.
that's
You
true.
know, the glue.
Okay, I'm sorry to belabor.
Sorry to bring up such a ridiculous point, but pet peeve.
Mr. Fode.
The only thing I have, Mr. Chairman, is I want to wish everyone a wonderful holiday season, regardless of what holiday you celebrate, and have a wonderful New Year.
Mr. Yule.
Yes. First, I want to thank the town administrator for addressing the snow removal and the sidewalks and so on. I think that in the past years, it doesn't seem to have gone this far, and I think I've gotten feedback from a number of residents appreciating that it's being addressed. Okay, and I know they haven't seen the documentation that the TA is sending in the mail, but the fact that we're discussing it and addressing it is very much appreciated by, in particular, some senior citizens. And I think that's great. I think the next step, after this is really, it boils down to an enforcement issue. And, we talk about 28 and it being clogged, and the sidewalks not being cleared, and we talk about the single tax rate, and we talk about the businesses' time to step forward and address this issue, because they've had a long time to be able to do this. It's when I was on the board before, they said, just give us time so we can tell our snowplow people what to do and have them prepared to do what is necessary. So that time has come and gone, and they should be able to do that now. So thank you very much, and I think the public is really appreciative of that. Christmas, the best time of year for most people. I just hope that every family has a wonderful Christmas, appreciates what is behind Christmas. It's really not a matter of receiving gifts. It's a matter of giving, and families understanding the reason for Christmas, which is the birth of Jesus Christ, and an idea that has moved forward. And I think it's very important that we don't forget that as we move forward. Christmas is a big and large uniting day for everyone, regardless of their faith. And so I say Merry Christmas to everybody. I say Happy Hanukkah, and to all the other holidays, I wish everybody a happy holiday. Thank you.
Mr. O'Leary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 2 or 3 things. First of all, just to all the Cape Ann League All-Stars that were just published in the Globe and the Herald the last couple of weeks. Congratulations to them. We had a few North Reading high school students mentioned prominently, and congratulations to them. Just in relation to the shootings of the New York police officers, to the New York Police Department, but to all of our uniformed police officers, my condolences, and again, my respect for what they do every day. And it's not easy, despite what the issues surrounding the whole set of circumstances here. That creating more victims isn't the solution. And just wanted our uniformed police officers to know that my thoughts are with them, and my appreciation is with them, and to the New York Police Department also. And other than that, Mr. Chairman, again, wishing the board members, their families, the community as a whole, and our employees, of course, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and a Happy New Year, a safe New Year. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Chairman.
you, Steve.
Thanks.
I want to say, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays to everyone. I want to thank my fellow board members, especially for the past year, in terms of your support and for all the accomplishments and hard work. And look forward to working with you into next year. I want to thank the town hall employees, police, fire, DPW for their efforts this past year too. It's been a year of transition, and I think everybody stepped up and made it as smooth as possible. I want to thank new town administrator Michael Gilberto for being here. And wish him and his family a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I want to thank those, all of those who have served in all our committees. Our community moves forward mostly on volunteer work, and whether it's in the youth athletics or whether it's in the various committees that either the Board of Selectmen is appointed or the town administrator or subcommittees of committees. We wouldn't be where we are today without all of that effort, and I wish all of them a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. With that, we're going to adjourn our regular session
Go back into-
temporarily.
Temporarily, yeah. Mr.
Have a brief executive session and come back for a single vote. And it's a single vote on a legal bill, so whether or not you want to hang around, Mr. Torres, or not,
You can check with
your
Michael tomorrow.
choice.
I'll call Mike in the morning.
Mr. Chairman, I move to enter into executive session for the purposes of litigation strategy, collective bargaining, and to consider the purchase, exchange, lease of, or value of real property. Such discussions in open session will have a detrimental impact on the town, and further, that the Board of Selectmen will return to open session for the sole purpose of considering whether to pay a legal bill.
Second.
Do we want to record that last piece of the open session, or do we want to allow our video?
No, they can, and again, I don't think there's any need for cable to cover it, because I
Yeah.
think it's just gonna be a quick little vote, either we're going to take some action on paying a legal bill, or we won't. So,
We can shut down. We'll wait.
Roll
until it
call
shuts down. Roll call vote. Mr. O'Leary.